my top 10 queries. First, we're starting out with the first one. Here we are looking at if there are any orders um, that don't exist with customer IDs. So basically, what we're trying to do is pull up any customer IDs and see if they do exist in the order category or table to see if their IDs do line up. And we are using specifically the not exists to make to check if there isn't anything that doesn't line up from the order to the sales customers table. So to run this, as you can see, nothing pops up, which is a good thing. It is pretty redundant and we get no results, but it is a nice addition to it, just so we know what isn't in the what customers are not ordering stuff. So it's always a good one. Let's see here. Next we have this is going to be looking at the top 10 customers that we have from our databases. So we are using specifically the where in. So we are looking at customer ID, so specific customers that do have um, the top counts of the order ID. So we're looking at the customers that have the most amount of orders. So we're not looking at the prices or any type of transaction, but we just want to look at the quantity of their orders, just so we can see and definitely keep a tab on them. And then we are selecting the top 10 specifically. So if I run this, we should only get 10, which is perfect. We also look at the buying group, so we can keep tabs on that, see which group has the most. Here we have one has the most, so probably to keep tapping on them even more, and then we have two, which is okay. Now we have the third one. Here we are using specifically the exists. This one is going to be looking for a scenario where we want to see if there exists order lines that take in stock item IDs. So in this instance, we want to see if there are any. We want to see all the stock items that are being purchased, which means if they're in the warehouse, we want to see if that specific ID is being used in the order line, so we know that it is being purchased. Then here we did use the stock item ID, of course, the name, so it's easier for people to see, and the color ID. Now this brings a great instance to see, first of all, what's being bought. Second of all, what color ID they are. As minimal as it sounds, color is it's a great option, especially in setting merchandise. So we can see which one is going to have the most amount. 3, which is connected to a color name. This is just easier for people to see. Not really see a bunch of letters, but see the ID, and then later on, once they are using the color, they just reference this. They get the color name. That's a bit of space in there. The next one we have is going to be using with. So this is going to be using a CTE, common table expression. This one's going to be cool. We're doing a basic thing where we're just looking at the quantity, total amount per order lines, and then we're grouping it by the order ID. Um, but we're just making a kind of basically a view, a table expression, um, and we are just ordering by the total amount. So we're creating total amount right here, which is the sum. But basically, we're seeing the greatest one as we do. We just specify descending. And the greatest one amount order ID, so we can see, keep the tabs on it, which is going to be great on seeing how orders are and which order ID specifically is getting the best one. So we have all of them, of course, but we're just looking at the top ones going down. So next one we have here is going to be still in progress. This is going to be another scenario where we want to see which orders are being um, currently completed. So they are still in progress, as the name suggests, but it is not completed. We're using with as, so we're creating our own thing again, CTE. We have order ID, order date, and contact person from the sales. And basically, we're picking completed when is no. Select everything from it. So we're just picking everything here. All of these are not completed. We create this CTE, so it's much easier to understand. We have the order ID, the order date, so we can know when it was first picked. When it first ordered, and then we have the contact person ID, so we know who to contact to. If it is pretty late, we do want to contact them and show them that their order is being sent. Apologies to the customer. and make sure that this list isn't going to be as long as it should be right now. We have 3,000 rows, of course, depending on the quality of our warehouse and our shipment. We don't want it to be too high. Of course, we also do want it to be filled because we want orders. But always a good one to make sure that everything's in progress. Now, the next one we're looking at is going to be one which basically keeps a tab on the quantity of our stock items. Um, so basically, what we're looking at is a scenario we want to make sure that the quantity of our um, items are not going to be exceeded by the quantity on that customers are ordering. So we are doing these things to make sure there's one per customer ID. But what we I do want to focus on is going to be the sales order line. So we're going to have if the orders do line up, the customer ID line up. But here we want to look at the stock item holdings. So in the order lines and in the in-house, which is going to be sorry, the stock warehouse. We want to see if the quantity on hand. So let's say in the warehouse we have 10, and we say in the order line, which is being produced by the customer, if the quantity, since the on hand is 10, if the quantity is 15, we want to flag this down, just because we're not going to be able to obviously perceive that because we don't have enough. Um, we have the full name and we have the person customer ID just for future reference, just in case. Let's say Ethan, he orders 10 of something, and again, we only have 5 of them. We want to be able to contact them. We reference to the customer ID, then we can reference to any contact personnel. But it's a good thing to make sure we're not putting our customers in annoying situations. That would be pretty annoying. Here we have is going to be a complex one. This is basically looking at our reorder level, and the quantity on hand. Um, Basically, what we're looking at is we're counting the order line as times ordered. So we're seeing how many times that order line column appeared. We put it into times ordered to see how much it is, and then we are looking at quantity on hand on the reorder level. So we're just joining a bunch of columns from different tables, just to make sure that we're getting all the information, and then we're grouping them by the times order ID, quantity in hand, and reorder level. So this is where we're gonna see how much are they getting close to it. You can see 38. Reorder level is 50. So we wanna keep that on hand to make sure it's not getting too low. So that's gonna be a great option as well. Um, Looking at this one, what we're looking here is to see the amounts, and basically we just summarizing the stock items and being moved. So we have transaction occurred when, we put that as month, we have a transaction type ID, and then we have quantity as total quantity moved. So here we're looking at the stock item transactions, and we're looking at basically how much they're leaving. Quantity is being how much it's actually being purchased or being left in the warehouse. We're also formatting, of course, by transaction type, only by year and month. That's going to be really important. And then we're looking at transaction type ID. So here we're looking at for each month, the 5th of 2016, the 4th, and we want to focus on the type of transactions to see what type is being used, and then how much is being moved. This is going to be a great way that we can keep tabs, for a company to keep tabs of how much is being moved per month, and of course what type of transaction I'm using. Is it going to be stocks? Is it going to be straight just payment through wire? It's going to be very important to keep tabs, and maybe even divide them into different categories. All right. Next one we have here is just going to be a simple categorization of our stock items. So we're just looking at the stock group ID, and we're doing just this thing just to keep it. It's pretty simple. We want to make sure that if they are being used in different categories, um, we just want to see that if they're returned more than one group, then we just want to keep a count of that so we can see are there better ways to categorize these stock item IDs, hopefully just to make it easier for our warehouse and just like our data system, to make sure that whenever anybody's using it, it's going to come up with pretty simple answers. Now, last one we have here is going to be a scenario we want to see, is there a way to see the order IDs and lines, and specifically the tax rate, and the tax rate that is above 20%. we have 0.20, which is, of course is 20 out of 100. Um, so it's gonna be a very simple thing. See which orders are being taxed more than 20%, and then we could dive into that, see what's going on there, just to keep a track of different customers and their tax rate and make sure everything's in line. And we categorize them by that, of course, just for future references. But yeah, that's it.